didn't know my own strength. I didn't know my own strength.
Well, good morning. Hello, 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 and welcome. I'm super excited. Oh my gosh, it's here. It's finally here. We're here. We are here. It is happening right now. Listen, the 11th annual Restoring the Bond Mother-Daughter Love Retreat is here. And I can't be more excited. Listen, if you haven't already done so, I want you to click that share button. I want you to let someone know, text someone the link so that they can join you for the Restoring the Bond Mother-Daughter Love Retreat. Well, actually, it's not a retreat this year. It's an event today. But if you want to have a little retreat in your house, go ahead. Throw out, get yourself something to drink, get yourself some snacks, get comfy, make yourself your own retreat. And, when we are face to face again, listen, we'll make it a retreat again real soon. Listen, I am Chelselia Cookie Payne. I am the founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated. We are a nonprofit organization that is housed right here in metropolitan Atlanta. We stand on three major platforms for our particular mission. Those platforms are domestic violence awareness and prevention, women's health and wellness, and mental health and ministry. Every year, this makes the 11th year that we're having our mother-daughter event. Now, typically for the past 9 years, for nine of these 11 years, it's been a virtual retreat. A retreat, a face-to-face live retreat where we would have moms and their teenage daughters, right? Every year for 9 straight years, we would have an all-day thing. I'm telling you, with massage therapists and speakers and food and fun and all the kind of stuff, singing, dancing, whole lot of crying. And at the end, yeah, it's a whole lot of crying. At the end, we would have a rites of passage ceremony, right? So last year, 2020 is what it is. 2020, we had it virtually, right? And so when we had it virtually, this opened up the door for us to expand it, not just to have it for moms and their teenage daughters, but for all moms and all moms last year. And not just moms, we wanted to incorporate it. We want to stretch our net a bit wider because over the years we've been asked, when are you going to have it for older? When are we going to have it for adult moms and their adult daughters, right? So 2020 came, and when you're in alignment with what God says, everything happens in His time. And sometimes we don't necessarily have to do things when we think it's time, but when we're listening and attentive to God, then you know what? Things come together. So last year, oh my gosh, it was amazing. If you were a part of it last year, you already know we had two special guests that were awesome. Oh my gosh. And the number of people who joined in with us was breathtaking. It was amazing because not only, well, for one, you had it virtually, so many people could join in, and two, we broadened the net. So this year, our 11th year, guess what? You're already here, so you already know. We're having it virtually, and it's not just for moms. It's not just for teenage girls. It's for everyone, especially ladies. If you're a lady, you're somebody's daughter anyway. So Eh. So we are, listen, when I tell you the two speakers that we have today, and I'm going to make it through this whole time without crying. Maybe. These two speakers that I have today are just jewels. I mean, literally, they are amazing women. And you'll see, I'll give them their intro, but their intro will have nothing on what they actually impart. And I'm just so elated to have this opportunity to share them with you, to share in my little portion of sharing them with you. Um, on this morning. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for joining in. Those that are joining live, I see you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining in and tuning in. We have some great things in store. I'm going to be giving away something a little later. And we have a partner that has gifted us with something. So I'm going to share that with you in a little bit. If you already saw, if you went to the registration link, the RSVP link, you saw that we were raising funds to partner with Pulse 24 Christian Ministries, Christian Church here in Atlanta, where we want to be a blessing to 250 women and their families at a local women's shelter, my sister's house here in Atlanta. So, because of you, and we're still taking up donations because we know Mother's Day, it's Mother's Day, and we want to be a blessing um, to the mothers that are there in the shelter because we know while some Mother's Day is a challenge for various reasons, but this is something we could do. This is something we could put our hands on and actually do. And so, although we weren't able to or aren't able to physically go into the building to love on them, because of the pandemic, we are able to sow into them so that we can provide just a little bit of love to them that way. And so, because of the donations that you all sent in during that time, and it's still going on again, it's not too late to donate. We were able to provide food, Mother's Day dinner for these wonderful moms and their families, and that is such a huge blessing. And so that portion of it, I already sent in that portion of it so that the food could be prepared. But we're still taking donations because beyond Mother's Day dinner, there's other things that women need. There are other things that their children need. So beyond that, we definitely would encourage you, if you're able to make a donation uh, to so I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask. So if you would like to make a donation, the information is up on the screen. You could donate to via Cash App at $PAYNE and Glory, or you can do it via PayPal at CPAYNE at Payne and Glory, and we will make sure that those funds get there. As well as, not only that, how about this, guys? Not only that, being a blessing to the women's shelter here in Atlanta, and we're like I said, collaborating. But we're also a portion of the funds received are going to the Priscilla Bell Jackson Caregivers Philanthropic Fund. We know 2020 brought about, and 2021 brought about a high increase rather in caregivers, the need for caregivers and people who are now caregivers that maybe weren't caregivers before. But listen, and trust me, before 2020 came, caregivers were doing the doggone thing. And so what we have is the Priscilla Bell Jackson Caregivers Fund. And that is just simply exactly what it kind of sounds like. We want to be a blessing to those who are caregivers, whether that means getting them, some gas, or making sure that they have food at the house, or maybe dinner for the night. Who knows, everybody, what I have found is that caregivers have different needs. Sometimes I spoke to one and they were saying it's not that, a gas card sounds nice, but sometimes being able to have someone come in and sit with their loved one while they go and run errands, having a home health care aide to come in, that's a huge part. So, if we can help in affording them that opportunity, I would love to do that. So for some, they, having a the comforts that we take for granted or don't even think about. So we want to be a blessing to not only the women's shelter but to caregivers. How about that? So, as I said, the information to donate is right on your screen. So we would love for you to partner with us and be a part of that. So um, we love, love, love you. So anyway, listen, I'm not going to belabor the time. I don't have a whole lot of preliminaries. I don't have a whole lot of stuff to go over. There's one little thing I need to share with you. And then we're going to get to our first featured speaker. How about that? So one of our partners that has been a part of our journey for quite a number of years. She has her name is Valerie Williams, and she has an awesome testimony. If you guys have been with me any period of time, you know she has an awesome testimony of being shot point blank in her head and surviving and telling the story. But she has an amazing program, and she has, interestingly enough, a mother daughter journal, and it is literally for mothers and daughters to journal together. It's not a separate journal. It's a journal that they use together. And if you know anything about me, you know I love journaling. I love how that gives you the freedom and the liberty. And so she, for during our mother daughter event, she is offering her journal for only $10. And so I want to share with you what it is. So take a look. So that is it. That is her mother daughter journal. And if you're interested in getting one, feel free to go to her site, ValerieLWilliams.org. Check out everything that she has there. But it's amazing because it is a journal where mother and daughter is interactive. And there's a lot you can get to learn about yourself and your daughter. And listen, it's not just for daughters. Maybe you and your bestie want to do it. Maybe you and your mentor and mentee want to do it. So I think it's a great tool. So click on there and you'll have all the information. So listen, let's get to it. Shall we? We shall. So I want to introduce you to our first speaker. So this is actually her second time being with us. Several years ago, I want to say maybe 8 years ago, she was with us and she was such a blessing to us. And so today is no different. She is a trailblazer's trailblazer. Listen, you'll see. I won't have to say much, but listen, let me get to the preliminary part. Let me do my due diligence and give you guys the 411 on our first guest speaker. And also, if you haven't already done so, hit that share button. Let other people know that this is happening and it's happening right now. Listen, our first speaker is none other, like I said, the Trailblazers Trailblazer, Alisha Thomas Morgan. Alisha is a champion's champion. She made history at age 23 by becoming the first African American to serve in the Georgia House of Representatives for Cobb County. By her fifth term in July 2010, winning over 73% of the vote, 73% of the vote. At age 32, Morgan remained one of the youngest members of the entire General Assembly, Georgia General Assembly. How about that? Trailblazers, trailblazer, I told you. She has served as a powerful political voice and continues to be an advocate for justice, education, and human rights. She is prolific and she is an inspirational speaker and empowering trainer, as well as creative and a forward thinking entrepreneur. This lady has her hand on the pulse of what matters. And what matters is having a heart for those who she serves, women, her community, education. She has her hand on the pulse. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the wonderful Alisha Thomas Morgan.
Try that again. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chelselia, for this opportunity to be with all of you this morning. I am just grateful and honored. I always see it as quite a privilege to be able to speak to the hearts of women. And so I thank you for that, and thank you for that introduction. I love, and I know Christine will appreciate this too, you don't have to send your bio or write your own bio because the person who introduces you knows you. And thank you, Madam Cookie, for your heart for women and all that you do. I'm listening to you talk about the work with Sisters House and caring for people who are caretakers is just so very important. And I honor you this morning and thank you for all that you do. Listen, sisters, mamas, daughters, aunties, cousins, ladies, and maybe even some women who are listening. What an important moment this is in our lives, an important season that we are in our lives. We have, right? And I just posted on social media, one of the blessings of COVID is that we have virtual conferences. I am actually in Mexico at the moment, celebrating my partner's retirement of 26 years in law enforcement. And so I could not miss this opportunity to speak to you, but because it's virtual, I get to be in another country and still speak to you. And so we are thankful for that. Also in this season, I just think it's so important for us to think about who we are, whose we are, where we are in the season of our lives, and realize that life is so short, and we cannot take that for granted. So this morning I want to talk about 5 things that us moms, us older women need to tell our daughters. And I want to talk about it in the sense of an acronym on SHIFT. And I'll go through that in just a moment. But one of the things that I have learned now that I'm in my 40s is that as grown people, grown women in particular, I thought growing up that all adults were perfect. Everything they said was right, and what mama said or what grandma said or whatever adult it was, they were 100% right. And now I look back and I think that was crazy. But what I've really learned is that all of us are human. Whether you are 12, whether you are 42 or 72, you should always be growing and continuing to strive to be a better person, a better woman. And I also realize that as women, we just don't talk enough about the seasons that we're in, the things that we're going through in our lives. And we somehow expect sometimes our daughters to just pick it up and know it. Or even if we are modeling it, that they can do what we say, not necessarily what we do. So by the way, I'm a call and response kind of girl. So if you like something I'm saying, I want to see it in the comments. Let me get an amen, or I hear you, sister, so that we know that you are there. But what I want to talk about are some of the things that we don't share. That as we have our own challenges with women, we don't necessarily talk to each other, and we may not even talk to our daughters about some of the things that we are challenged with. And so this morning, I want to talk about what would happen if we were truly honest with our daughters about the things that we experience in our lives. What if we really took the time to talk to each other about the pains, the joys, the way we've overcome all kinds of things in our lives, how much better we would be as a community of women. And so the S in shift is for season. It is knowing, we've all been there. If you're in your 30s or your 40s or older, you certainly understand what I'm about to say. We experience major shifts in our lives. It's that time that we feel pushed or pulled, that things don't feel right. We know that there's something different that we're supposed to be doing. I call it, we check all the boxes, so you go to school, you get married, you have the children, you have the nice house with the white picket fence, and then you wake up at 35 or 40 or 45 and you say, well, what is this? Is this enough? Is this what I'm called to do? There's more that I'm supposed to be doing, but how do I get there? And you have these questions, you feel that push to do something different, to start that business, to write that book, to share your experiences, to start that nonprofit, or you feel pulled out of that job, out of that relationship. So when you are in this season of shift, it's important for you to acknowledge those things that you are feeling. For our daughters who are in high school or middle school, I have an 8th grade daughter, and so I understand some of the things that you are dealing with. And of course, we have been teenagers, right? But it's that moment that you look at your friends and you realize that maybe they're not going in the same direction as I am. Maybe they don't want the same things that I want. Maybe I have some different goals. The things that they're trying to encourage me to do, I don't really want to do. They're not talking about college or dreams for themselves. And you realize that maybe it's time to have some new friends. But that's hard because you've known them since elementary or middle school. But you realize that you've got to tap into those feelings, and because you want more for yourself, right? And you're not sure who to talk to or how to make new friends who want the same things, but you feel like we're feeling at 42 and 52, that push and that pull. And so the first thing I want you to know is that this is natural. This is what we all go through in our lives. All of us are feeling some kind of push or pull. We're feeling that kind of shift in our lives. We're in a season of change. And so I want you to know that it is okay. It is natural, that this is what we're supposed to be going through. And mamas, I want you to be okay with sharing with your daughters that I'm in a season that I checked all the boxes and now I want to do something for me. Now that I've gotten you off to high school, or now you're off to college, or you're out of the house, I want to do things for me because I'm feeling that push or that pull. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You're in that season of pushing or pulling and wanting to do something different. That's a part of this shift that we're talking about in our lives. The H in shift is for healing. And this is one of the hardest parts. Moms, in order for us to move forward, to do the things that we're called to do, to write that book, to start that business, to leave that unhealthy relationship, we got to heal. We got to heal from our past mistakes, from our past life experiences that keep putting us back in the same place. We got to heal from those relationships that didn't work, the job that fired us, the people that talked about us and lied on us, the people at church that did us wrong. Y'all know what I'm talking about? That if you don't deal with that past abuse, you keep getting back into the same kind of relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's romantic relationships. If we don't heal, if we don't deal with those things that are holding us back, we'll never be able to move forward. And some of us have this notion, I know nobody that's watching today, that women can't be friends, or I'm just not going to have any friends, right? We don't know how to be sisterly, that we somehow can't have healthy relationships. And so I declare to you today that it is time to heal, that it's time for us to stop allowing those limiting beliefs that we have to hold us back from the things that we really want to do in our lives. We tell our daughters, dream big. You can do anything that you want to do. But we forget that they're watching us stay in jobs that don't value us, that don't pay us enough. We're staying in relationships with people who don't value who we are, who don't love, who don't honor us. We are allowing ourselves to be in situations that are not fulfilling to us. And so while we tell our daughters to dream big and to do great things and watch who you hang out with and all the things that we tell them, we have to remember that they are also watching us, that we are modeling for us what it is that we really want them to do, not just listen to what we say. And so we have to heal from those past hurts, those limiting beliefs that tell us we're not good enough. Some of us are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and we're still remembering things that people told us, that our parents told us when we were teenagers. You remember the thing that your grandma said on the way to church that Sunday 25 years ago. You remember the thing that your uncle said to you, that you would never amount to anything, that you were going to end up a teenage mom. Or maybe you even fulfilled that prophecy. But you keep saying to yourself those things over and over and over again, and it's keeping you from where you need to go. It's keeping you from being the person that God has called you to be. And so it's time for us to heal from those past hurts, from those limiting beliefs. The thing that keeps telling us that we're too old, that it's too late to chase that dream, that you don't have enough money, that all the odds are stacked against you. One of the stories that my mother and I share, and I think Mom is watching, so hey, Mama. We laugh about this, but it's really, really true. My mom always tells a story that when I was born, she looked at me and said, and she felt this in her spirit, that I would have a lot of challenges in my life, but I would go on to do great things. And if you could imagine speaking those words to a baby who is just minutes old and having no idea what I would be, what would happen in my life at 15, at 17, at 23, at 42. But those are the words that she spoke to me. And I think about some of the words that other people in my life have spoken to me that weren't so loving, that weren't so focused on the great things that I was going to do in my life. And if I didn't take the time to overcome some of those hurtful things that people said, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I want us to take the time to heal. I want you to overcome those things that are not good, that are sitting in your spirit, that you're still carrying all this time. Can I tell you the truth? Some of us need to go to therapy. I know in some communities it's taboo, and if we just take it all to God, He will fix it. That's not necessarily true. What God does is give us therapists and give us life coaches and professionals who can help us get from where we are to where we want to be. And so I want you to think about, what do I need to do? I want you to take a moment today. Don't let Saturday pass you by without deciding, declaring for yourself, I am no longer going to move forward with these things that are holding me back. I am no longer going to stay steeped in those negative and those ugly things that have been on my back, keeping me from God's destiny for my life. That today I'm going to do something different. Today I'm going to let go of those things. I'm going to heal from my past. I'm going to acknowledge those limiting beliefs that keep me away from God's promises. I want you to call that therapist today. Set up an appointment, get some help, free yourself. Because those things you've been holding on to those things for way too long, and it's been keeping you away from what you're supposed to be doing for way too long. I want you to get rid of those things that are causing our own daughters to be held back from the things that they want in their lives because we're afraid that they're going to get hurt. We don't want them to take steps because of the things that have happened in our own lives. So S is for season, H is for healing, I, which is my favorite and most appropriate for today, is for inspiration. I is for inspiration. So the question for you, as you declare that you are no longer going to allow these hurts to hold you back, I also want you to think about, what are those things that you are going to do to draw inspiration in your life? What are those things you're going to do that help you decide that I'm going to feed my mind and set my soul on fire on a daily basis? What are those new habits that you are going to create that enable you to do the things that you are called to do? Now, what am I talking about? Sometimes we spend all day, all night on the news, watching the things that are happening every day, right? We're looking at who got shot, the crime going up in Atlanta or wherever you live. You're thinking about the COVID numbers and how it's going up and down and all the things that worry you every single day. Some of us turn on the news and it just plays all day long. Do you realize what that's doing to your spirit? Do you realize that all the conversations that you're having, all the gossip, right? And I don't mean like the good tea where it's just fun, but I'm talking about talking negatively about people, right? Talking down to other people, allowing those negative things that are happening on social media. I have friends who say, well, I had to get off social media because it's too negative. So my question is, who are your friends on social media? What are they posting that is not inspiring you every day? I love my Facebook friends because we're talking about wonderful quotes and what we're doing in our lives. And so if you are not surrounding yourself with people who are inspiring you, you ought to take a good look of what you are putting in your spirit. Nothing wrong with social media, nothing wrong with watching the news, but it is wrong if that's all you are putting into your spirit. And so what are you listening to on your way to work? Ricky Smiley is funny and I love Steve Harvey and the rest of them. But sometimes you got to turn off that radio and listen to a good sermon. You got to listen to a good podcast. Let me do a shameless plug. I have a podcast called Fearless Chick. So check it out. But I started this podcast because I want women like you to have something positive to listen to every day. That when you are on your way to work, now that COVID is, opening things up again, there's traffic out there and you mad and cussing folks out and giving them the finger and all kinds of things. But what are you putting into your spirit on the way to work? If you're going to a job that is stressful, how are you preparing yourself so that you will have the armor of God on you, right? To know how you walk into that building, that when people start saying things, it just flows off of you because you have inspired yourself for the day. You have motivated yourself for the day. So what are you listening to? What are you putting in your spirit? What is inspiring you? We don't know it all. Even though we have wisdom and we've had life experiences, you've got to be able to feed yourself, feed your mind, and nourish your spirit. Amen. If you aren't reading the Bible, if you aren't reading inspirational books, there's all kinds of things that you can be doing. So as you, number one, make that decision that today I am declaring that I am no longer operating in hurt and what happened to me in the past, I also want you to declare today that I am no longer allowing every day to pass and I'm not doing something to inspire myself. Every day you ought to be doing something. Wake up in the morning, listening to a sermon, listening to a podcast, reading a book, instead of picking up that phone first, right? To see who texts you or what's going on Facebook or what's happening in the news. Feed your mind and nourish that spirit. Because to do the things that God has called you to do, if you aren't fed, if you are broke, busted, and disgusted, I'm not talking about money. If you are malnourished, how can you give to other people? How can you do the things that you are called to do if you aren't doing the things to inspire yourself? So S is for season, H is for healing, I is for inspiration. And deciding every day that you want to grow, that you want to inspire, that you want to be moved. I want you to think about what it means to feed your mind with something positive for our young people who, before you go to school every day. Because moms, our daughters are dealing with major pressures in their lives. Home, they're dealing with our high expectations for them. At school, they're worrying about taking state tests and if they're going to go to the next grade. From their friends, they're dealing with pressure on who they're hanging out with and to do the things that the crowd is doing. But the only way we can combat these things is to fill our minds with positivity, to surround ourselves with positive people who are like-minded, who will stretch us, who will push us and move us and want to be greater. Because what you feed your mind becomes your reality. What you say, you will become. If you tell yourself that you're going to fail that math class, you absolutely will. If you tell yourself that you can get into the college of your choice, you absolutely can. Mama, if you tell yourself that your daughter has an attitude problem and she's too grown, and that's how you treat her and that's how you talk to her, that's how she's going to conduct herself because that's what you're putting in her mind. Think about all the negative things that our aunties and, the teachers at school or whoever said to us. They put that in our mind. They planted those seeds, and 30 years later, you're still carrying around. So we got to be careful about our words, not just what we say to others, but also what we say to ourselves. One of my biggest struggles is with my weight. And I know from looking at me, you'd be like, what? But all of us have something. And there are many days that I've had to stop myself from looking in the mirror and saying, gosh, you're fat. Gosh, you're big. Oh, look, you look at Facebook memories. Oh, Facebook memories will get you in trouble, right? Because you're looking and it's like 5 years ago, like, oh, look how cute I was. I was so skinny in that dress. And I thought I was big then, but no, this is chunky, right? Those are the things that we tell ourselves. But those words matter. They sit in our spirits. Those things that you are telling yourself matter. And they determine how we operate and how we see the world. And so it's what we say to our daughters, it's what we say to our children, our spouses, our partners, our coworkers. Those words are seeds that are planted. And so when you are listening to things, whether it's people or the news or negativity, those are planting seeds in your mind, and what you say becomes your reality. And so instead, I want us to speak life to ourselves. I want us to speak life to our daughters. I want us to speak life to the people around us. I want you to be known as the person that when you walk into a room, you light it up. Not just because of your cute outfit or the smile on your face, but the joy that you bring to others and to yourself. Because they can always count on you for the encouraging word, not for the negativity, not for the complaining, but because of what you say, because of the affirmation. Because what we say to ourselves, what we say to others, can be damaging to our souls or it can be enlightening to our souls. Our daughters are watching us, and we must be careful of the things that we are inspiring ourselves with. So while you make that therapy appointment, I also want you to declare today that from this day forward, I'm going to do something every single day to feed my mind and nourish my spirit. S is for season, H is for healing, I is for inspiration, F is for fear. And I would argue being fearless. Some of us don't move forward in the things that we want to do because we are afraid. We are afraid of what people might say. We are afraid to get out of our comfort zones. We are afraid of being successful because we're so used to mediocrity, so used to just being comfortable. Even if we don't like it, we sometimes say we settle for the devil that we know. And I'm here to say to you today that that's not acceptable, that that's not what God has for us. 2 Timothy 1:7, we all know it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And so with God, how dare you be afraid to do anything He has called us to do? So when I say fearless, I am not talking about not being afraid of snakes or jumping out of a plane. I am talking about what it means to be fearless in your life, to decide that this is the life that I want, and I'm going to align everything accordingly. So if you say that I'm a powerful Black woman, that through Christ I can do all things, why are you afraid to leave that job? Why are you afraid to leave that relationship that you know isn't working for you? If you are powerful beyond measure and God will bless you abundantly and exceedingly, why won't you bet on yourself and invest in your own business? What are you afraid of? Being fearless means I declare this is what I want from my life. This is who God has called me to do. And I'm going to align everything in my life accordingly. I'm not going to worry about what people say, the rules that we make up in society, that, by the way, it doesn't work for anybody, but we believe them, we embrace them because somebody told us that's what we're supposed to be doing. But when you are fearless, you decide that I'm not listening to what other folks say. I'm not going by other folks' rules. I'm going to do what I am called to do. And when God says that he is calling me to do something, don't you know he's going to put everything in place for you to succeed? Don't you know that he's going to put the money, the resources, the people, the hookups, the everything that you might imagine, things that you don't know that you need, he's going to put in place. But when we operate from fear, there is no way that he can help us. There is no way he can get us to the place we need to be when we are too fearful to act. And so if you believe that God's plans for us are to prosper us, then how dare we be fearful? So the F is for fear and for being fearless. It is for deciding that I am no longer going to allow what other people say or what they think to determine my future, to determine what God's destiny is for me. That I am no longer going to tell my daughter to follow her dreams and to dream big and to do all the things that she wants to do, but then be afraid to move, be afraid to operate, to take that step. Be afraid to make that call, to ask for that thing that you need, to ask that question, to ask for those resources, to be afraid to believe in yourself. If we are truly going to expect great things and know that our daughters are worthy of all of the things that they dream of, then we first have to do that for ourselves. We can no longer operate in fear. We've got to be what? Fearless. And if I could see all of you and hear all of you, I would ask you to repeat after me. I am fearless. I can hear you. I can hear you. All the way to Mexico. I want you to say it again. I am fearless. And when I am fearless, I can do anything. Anything. Can you imagine all of the things that you can do in your life without fear? All those things that you've been wanting to do since you were 12 or 15 or 25, but you've been afraid to do it because you want to keep getting that good check. You don't want to walk away from those benefits. But can I tell you something? What I know for a fact, as I've left jobs and I am now working as a consultant and working on my own schedule, which is why I can spend the next 5 days of my life in another country. Because when I finally let go of the fear of the unknown, when I finally walked away from the job that was no longer valuing me, when I finally decided to start my own thing, the doors flew open because I was finally walking in my purpose. And so some of us are walking around limited, feeling confined, like you're in jail, and you are in your mind because you're not living your best life. You are not living what God has ordained for you to live. And that's how you know. If you're feeling restricted and bound and fearful and uncomfortable, it is because you are not walking in your purpose and you are allowing fear to determine the rest of your life. And so what would happen if we let go of that fear? What would happen if we decided to do the thing that we really want to do and we didn't let fear control us, but instead we were controlled by our hopes and our dreams and our inspiration and our belief in oneself? Yes, Joyce. Joyce says, I can do anything. Absolutely. Thank you, Pearl, who says, I am fearless. Joy says, walking away from what doesn't value me. Absolutely. Why are we holding on to things and people and places that don't value who we are? That's not who God destined us to be. That is not what God wants for us. But when you operate in fear, you will tell yourself, you will convince yourself that this is all I can get. This is all that I'm destined for. This is all life is supposed to be. But can I tell you, sis, that ain't the truth? That's not the God that we serve. And so if you believe, right, in being fearless, it's time to let go of those things of woulda, coulda, shoulda. I wish I could do it. If there was only time, there's never going to be the right time. And that's what the T in shift is for. T is the hardest part, right? So you're in this season, you know that it's time to push, to pull, to do something different. You know that you are working on your healing and getting rid of those limiting beliefs that are holding you back from what God has for you. That I is for inspiration because you are determined to spend your time feeding your mind and nourishing your spirit, building yourself up, growing so that you can do the things God has called you to do. And F is for what? Being fearless. But that T is the hardest part of them all. T is for timing. You see, the problem with timing is it's not our time. It's God's time. And many of us grew up in the microwave generation where you pop it in for 2 minutes and, oh, it's ready. But if those of you who are bakers, and I'm not, but I can make a mean cake. Thank you, Duncan Hines and Betty Crocker, right? But if you know anything about baking a cake, right? Imagine eating a cake before it's done. So when we talk about timing, the thing that you have been called to do, the book, the job, leaving the relationship or healing from that situation, that hurt, we want it to be done immediately. But when God is working on us, when he is preparing us to do the thing that we've been called to do, it takes time. And so we can't just put the mix all in the bowl and or for you, it's flour, however you make a cake naturally. I don't know. I use the stuff that's in the box, but you put the mix in there, right? And you put the egg and maybe the water or the milk, depending on what it is that you are making, and you stir it all up. Those are those challenges you've been going through in your life. When things felt so hard and so difficult to overcome, right? You're stirring it up. And then you want it to be over, right? You want it to be done. The challenge is here. Lord, let me out of this. I am tired. I am overwhelmed. Please take this from me, right? And you want it to be over. Except once you start mixing the cake in the mix, it's not a cake yet. It's really just the mix. You got to then put it in the oven. Of course, the oven's got to be preheated, right? But you put it in the oven and you can walk by as many times as you want. But until it's been cooking for 30 to 45 minutes, nothing you do, nothing you say, nothing you read, nothing that you do will make that cake get done faster because it takes time. And so what I'm saying to you, sis, is you may already be on the journey of starting that business or opening that restaurant or leaving that job, and you left the job because they weren't respecting you and you didn't have anywhere to go to, and you operated in faith and you just said, I'm gonna go because I know I need to go, but I don't have anything to go to. Can I tell you, sis, that in God's timing, you will have everything that you need exactly when you need it. So the marriage that didn't work, the friendship that fell apart, the job that didn't work out, the people who talked about you, and it feels like it's been forever since your redemption has come, I'm here to tell you that it all happens in God's timing. And so what you have to do is keep putting one foot in front of the other. Some of us are seeking big goals and we have these dreams and you're not sure where to go, or some of us have multiple things that we want to do. But can I tell you, the only way you're going to seek clarity is if you keep moving. Sometimes we think we should just sit still and wait for God to drop it down on us. It's going to hit us in the head and say, oh, Alisha, do this, 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 and this. But that's not how God works. If you trust him, if you believe in him, and you do the work, right, because faith without works is dead. You keep moving, putting one foot in front of the other. You keep applying. You keep calling the people that are in your network. Keep sending your resume out. Keep asking, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Amen? But all in his timing, things are going to work out. To our young people who are watching, maybe your mama made you watch this stream. You rather be on TikTok or doing anything else. You didn't want to be here. And I thank God for all the times that my mama made me go to things. She made me go to the NAACP meeting, which happened to be one of the best things that ever happened in my life. But all in God's timing. And so you may feel frustrated. I know my daughter, 14, is so ready to be grown and tired of rules. She was telling me the other day, she goes to her dad and it's rules and she doesn't like them. And at my house, she's got to do certain things and she's tired of it. But you know what? As I said to her, all of this is preparing her to be a responsible adult. And all the things that we are experiencing in our life are preparing us to be better human beings, to be better professionals, to be better spouses, right? That one marriage didn't work, but how about the new one that God has for you? The new partner who's going to be exactly what you need. But sis, if you don't heal, if you don't take the time to overcome those limiting beliefs that are holding you back, you will never get to the partner, the job, the opportunity that God has for you. So this is the T in timing. For you to do the work, for you to have patience, for you to understand that God is working. Because when that 40-minute, 45-minute timer goes off, ding, the cake is ready. And it is time for you to do the things that God has called you to do. And so as I close, I want to tell you the short version of my becoming state representative at the age of 22. And I told you the story of my mother saying when I was born, and sometimes I wish that she didn't say that because there were so many challenges that I faced in my life. And I look at her and I say, this is your fault. But I know that what God spoke to her, she didn't know why she was taking me to NAACP and why she was sacrificing and working 3 jobs while I was in Spelman so that I could have a great education. But it was all because of what God spoke to her that day. And so when I was 22 and had the audacity to believe that I could be state representative in Cobb County of all places, people thought that I was absolutely crazy, that I was too young, that this was impossible, that Cobb County had never elected a Black person. So how in the world was I going to be elected at 22, 23? So we had our campaign team, did all the things we're supposed to do, but the guy who was my original campaign manager dropped me out of nowhere, decided that he was going to support another candidate, and he filed a legal challenge against me. Thanks, Mama, right, for talking about the challenges that I would have. But what she also said was that great things would come of it. And so stay tuned. And so we went to court. And without going into all the details, because I'm running out of time, I want Christine to have her time. We didn't get that decision that day. So we go home, wait a couple of weeks. I'm still campaigning. The legal challenge was about me living in the district. And so I'm still knocking on doors. I'm still campaigning, still believing, because when we have challenges in our lives and we come up against obstacles, you still have to believe, even when it looks impossible, even when it looks like it's not going to work out. And so 2 weeks before the election, I find out that we lost that residency challenge, and my name was taken off the ballot. And so it felt like all the work that had been done was for naught because now I was no longer in the race. And I remember people calling and saying, just wait a couple of years, you have time. You're young. And so what I want you to know is that people will always tell you you have time. Why don't you wait? But when God calls us to do things, when there's something that you are called to do, we don't have time to wait. We must do it now. And so we appealed the case. So remember, this is 2 weeks before the election. So we go back, we appeal the case, go before a different judge. Now it's a week before the election. This judge decides in that moment to overturn the previous decision. I am now back on the ballot a week before the election. Now, people already voted absentee. I got 2 people in my race. It felt impossible. And here's what's so awesome about this story. The judge overturned the decision not based on my residency in the district. He overturned the decision because the person who filed the challenge did it by fax, and he didn't think that was appropriate. Now, some of you are saying, I don't get it, Alisha. What does the facts have to do with residency and running for office? I want you to hear me and hear me well. Many times we seek to do things that seem impossible, that people told us this has never been done before. You can't do that. Nobody's ever done that before. Sometimes the laws, the policies, the legal ruling, the health report will tell us what we cannot do. But I need you to understand me today that when, God has something for you, it doesn't matter what the judge says, the doctor says, your unemployment check says, it will happen. And so on August 20th, 2002, when people said my skin was too dark, that I was too young, that nobody would ever vote for this little Black girl from Miami, I got 65% of the vote and became Cobb County's first African-American state representative. And so nobody can tell me on any challenge that I've ever faced in my life that anything, that what you want to do is impossible. Nobody can tell me the challenges that you are facing in your life in this moment that you cannot overcome. As I look back in my life, I say, Mama, why did you declare that I would have all these challenges? Because on the other side of these challenges are immense victories that when you get to the other side, you will know it was nobody but God. That you couldn't have done it by yourself. It couldn't have been a judge, no matter how good my lawyer was. If God said that I was going to be the state representative, it didn't matter how many lawsuits were filed. It didn't matter how young I was. It didn't matter how many degrees I had, how cute I was. None of those things mattered. Because what matters is what saith the Lord. And so I want you to stop telling yourself that the things that you want to do are too big, that you don't have enough money, that nobody else does that's never happened in your family, that the cycles that you are seeking to break in your family can't be broken because nobody else has done it. Don't tell me what God can't do. And so I thank my mama for speaking that into my life. I thank God for who he is in my life. I thank him for all of the shifts, right? The seasons that I've been in my life when I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was next, but he always had it mapped out. The healing that I was able to do from broken marriages and broken relationships and jobs that didn't value me and people who mistreated me for no reason. The healing that had to take place. That if I didn't heal, I wouldn't be where I am today. The daily inspiration that I must put in my life, whether it's a quote, a sermon, while I'm running on the treadmill, it's something something feeding my spirit so that I can nourish my soul. The declaration to be fearless, to refuse to operate in fear. And T is to trust God's timing because he knows exactly what he's doing and when he needs to do it. And so, mama, daughter, sister, auntie, I am saying to you that what God has for you is awesome. And all you have to do today is decide that you are going to walk in what he has for you, not in fear, not in discomfort, not in anything, but knowing who he is and what is possible with him. I'll leave you with my favorite quote. It's by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. It says that every person is born into this world to do something distinctive and something unique. And if he or she does not do it, it will never be done. God called me to be Cobb County's first African American state representative. Ain't a soul watching this stream was born to do that but me. But guess what? There's something that he's calling you to do. And when you get rid of that fear and heal from that pain and walk into your destiny, you will do the thing that he has called you to do. And if you don't do it, it will never be done. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mommies. Remembering that all of you, it is time for you to shift, to go through your season, to heal, to be inspired, to be fearless, and to trust God's timing. Because if you don't do it, it will never be done. Be blessed.
What an amazing, amazing word. Amazing seems insufficient. When I tell you, Alisha Thomas Morgan, you literally encompass and embody every part of this theme this year. Feed her mind, nourish her spirit, nourish her soul. You did just that today. What people don't know is that when I invited our guests for today, I did not go over what I want them to speak about. I gave them the theme, and that was it. I did not say, could you talk about this? Could you hone in on that? You seem to be an expert over here. This is what I want you to cover. None of that, because I trusted what was in them to pour out what needed to be poured out. I wanted to come from a place of authenticity, and it certainly was that. Today we saw that embodied in what our beautiful Alisha Thomas Morgan said. And what's interesting is she has no idea of the part that what I'm about to say before I bring on our next speaker, she has no idea of it, but it tied in as if we were scripting it. And I want to actually say it before we got into it, because Alisha, this was amazing. Thank you not only for pouring out such great wisdom about the shift. Thank you not only for providing us insight and giving us a behind the scenes of the Alisha Thomas Morgan story, but thank you just for yielding just a moment, because you're celebrating on a whole, well, you know where you are. You know how you're in the sunshine and the beaches and all the lovely things that are around you, and you took time out of your vacation time, your Mother's Day weekend, to be with us, and I am so appreciative. We are so appreciative. I'm seeing the messages that are coming up, and I can't see all of them because we're streaming over several platforms, but I want you to know from the depths of my heart, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And listen, the best is still yet to come. I want you guys to make sure, there's so much that she does. So first and foremost, Go to her website after today, after this Mother Daughter event. Go to AlishaTMorgan.com and you will see that she not only does so many things, but she's actually one who can speak it. One of the ladies, she's one who can speak into your life. She is one who can help you to navigate these choppy waters of getting from point A to point B. She is the fearless chick. And so I want you to go to AlishaTMorgan.com and check it out. She also is an entrepreneur. And so she has it, and you probably have seen them all. I know I have. If you ride around a little bit in Atlanta, you don't even have to go far. Listen, go to yardshowoff.com. She's got Yard Show ATL, and there's all these beautiful, with COVID hitting, we want to be able to celebrate people in a different way, and we want to be able to be expressive. Listen, go to yardshowoff.com. You'll see what I'm talking about and support our beautiful sister, Alisha Thomas Morgan. Thank you again, my dear. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing notes. She says that there's a lot of messages coming popping up. But there you were indeed such a blessing. I think a lot of people, as we're getting ready to close, a lot of people are wanting to get in before you leave off. But thank you so much, Alicia, and I appreciate you to the highest. Happy Mother's Day. So, guys, I really want you to know that I'm overwhelmed with excitement and happiness, and I held back tears. I actually have a box of tissue right here because Alicia really she tuned in. She tuned into every part of what this event is about. And so, as you know, earlier I talked about the fact that we partnered together with the local church to be a blessing to the women's shelter here in Atlanta, to be able to feed and be a blessing to the women and their children there, as well as a portion of the proceeds received will go to the Priscilla Bell Jackson Caregivers Philanthropic Fund. So if you would like to be partner with us as well and be a blessing to donate, feel free to do so. You can do so at Cash App, $Pain and Glory, or via PayPal at cpayne at Pain and Glory. We would love to have your support. Not only for this, we actually are in the works now to have another mental health first aid certification course. This is important. To have mental health first aid is so important. Now more than ever. I've been doing it for the past 4 years, but now more than ever, it's important. Also, for those that are joining in, I know that as I said, Alicia touched on so much. For those that are tuning in and that are part of today's event, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, for the remainder of May, I am offering a aside from being the founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated, I am a certified women's inner power and purpose coach. And in doing so, Alicia touched on it a lot of the points or pain points that I deal with, which is, understanding your purpose, knowing how to step out of being who everybody else says you're supposed to be and who everybody else thinks you're supposed to be, and walking authentically into your own authentic self. And so for the rest of the month of May, I am offering a free strategy session for anyone who is interested. All you have to do is go to the website, purposefully.authentic.com, and book your time. That's pretty much it. And you have a 45-minute free strategy session with me, because I know, listen, I get it. I get it. Sometimes we're overwhelmed with this, that, and everything, and we're trying to figure it all out. Listen, for the remainder of May 2021, I am offering the strategy calls. So be sure to go to purposefullyauthentic.com as my gift to you for being a part of this dynamic event. I encourage you to go there for your free strategy session. How about that? So listen, our next guest, I she is she is something. Like our next guest is amazing. I had the opportunity. She helped me with something back in September. She partnered with me to help me to do something very special for my daughter. I reached out to her, and her selflessness was so overwhelmingly just generous. Her selflessness and her willingness and her desire to want to help um, someone else, and it just she embodies what it means to be selfless. She embodies what it means to be a carrier of God's heart. And so, because of that, well, not just because of that, actually, I was sharing with her off camera that I had been praying as to who God would have to have me to invite to be a part of today, right? So, she was already in God's mind. Her and Alisha were already in God's mind already from May the 8th before I even came to him and asked him. But I asked him, who do you want me to have come for the mother daughter event? And when it just so happened, I prayed a prayer that morning, and that same morning, she did a Instagram live, and it was so empowering. I was sitting there nearly in tears because this woman was literally saying the answer to my prayer through her through her Instagram live. And so I have the honor and the privilege of introducing to you and presenting to you Christina Johnson. So let me just give you just a little bit about our precious Christina. There's a lot actually that I could say about her. There's an expression that says, whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, if that saying is true, then she certainly is a superhero. She's a teen mom who was born to a teen mom, but she overcame being a statistic by changing her atmosphere, by changing her environment. She moved from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Atlanta, and then, not many years after that, she actually met and married famed singer, rapper, entertainer CeeLo Green. You probably have seen CeeLo on The Voice, and if you're from Atlanta, you know who CeeLo is. If you, I'll put it this way: if you're from Atlanta and don't know who CeeLo is, there's a problem. But CeeLo is known all over the world. But listen, not only so she took what her life dealt her. She took the challenges that were given to her, and she did something with them. She allowed God to do something with the challenges that were presented to her. Being a creative mind, being one that has so much creativity bottled up inside of her, she created her own design company, which is Inner Peace Design, which is a progressive interior design and consulting firm, which she is utilized and seen all over as far with various entertainers and people who are in the corporate industry and all over. She is a known force to be reckoned with. So now, fast forwarding, she has used her voice and her platform not only to help women who have been in abusive relationships, but also women who have gone through issues. She herself is a survivor of Graves' disease, and she may go into that. But just the details of how she has used the inner strength that God has endowed her with, that she has been purposed with, that she has been graced with to be able to be a blessing to other women is amazing. So she is not only a creative, she's not only an entrepreneur, she also is a coach. She has her own coaching practice where she, empowers and inspires and uplifts. And if you ever follow her on Instagram, she's always giving us golden nuggets that will empower and uplift everyone that she comes in contact with. So I am elated to present to some and introduce to others our very precious Christina Johnson. Christina, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi there. Thank you so much. That was such an amazing introduction. I was like, oh, she's talking about me. This is awesome. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Okay. So I want you guys to do an exercise with me. And I know I can't see you, but I feel like I'm virtually hearing you. And I love to do this before I speak because of the energy behind it and how it really brings up things for us. Because I know we all have our stories and things that we've been through, and had our challenges growing up. We've had our challenges as parents. We've had our challenges with relationships, with career. So I would ask you right now to close your eyes. Close your eyes and think back on those challenges, those places in your childhood that were traumatic, those things that may have happened to you, even as a grown up, things that are happening even at work today, things that are challenging you today. But I want you to think about how far God has brought you since those days and how much He has blessed you and how He has carried you through. And on the count of three, I want you to open your eyes and I want you to say thank you. And I want you to belt out wherever you are. And if you're somewhere where you can't yell, just in your spirit, just really feel that thank you. On the count of three, open your eyes. Let me get a thank you because now we're thinking about how far God has brought us from. And even listening to the introduction, it just reminded me of all the things that I've been through. So 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful for how God has stayed with me. A lot of people ask, like, who were your mentors growing up? And I have to honestly say, God was my mentor. I have to honestly thank my mother for keeping us in church. We were the family that was in church on Sunday night service. We were there for Friday prayer service, Wednesday Bible study. We were always at church. And I remember at 7 years old, finding out that God would forgive me for anything that I've done, anything that I do that sometimes we're not forgiving of ourselves, but He forgives us and He throws it into the sea of forgetfulness. And sometimes we'll go fish that thing back out, throw the guilt back on our backs. But God always is loving. He's always forgiving. He's a God of love. And so this morning, speaking to parents, speaking to grown children, because we're all children of a mom, you know what I mean? And some of us are moms, some of us are fur moms, some of us are adopted moms, some of us are godmothers. Happy Mother's Day to you guys. I want to just impart some of the nuggets that I've gotten through raising children because I have 3 grown children. I have a daughter who's 31, a daughter who's 28, and a son who'll soon be 21. And just going through that journey of being a mom, being a teen mom, and finding my way, honestly, really finding my way and living through a lot of challenges. I want to be able to impart that. And especially starting with, because this is new to this retreat, having the grown children with the moms, I have to say, I would challenge you to see your mom as a human. Because I know a lot of times we see moms as super moms. They can do anything. They're supposed to be perfect. I tell my kids all the time, P is for parent. It does not stand for perfect because I'm a human being and I've made my mistakes. I had to grow up with my children. So as I learned, I taught. So see your mom as human. The same way you've been in a relationship, ladies, and you've had your heart broken, your mom has been in relationships. She's experienced heartbreak. And piggybacking off, Alisha was amazing. And when she first started talking, I was like, God, I know that you're in the midst. The reason I know is because those are some of the things I'm going to touch on. So this is Him confirming His word, honestly, because anytime I speak, I always ask Him, speak through my mouth. And I know that He is here and He is ever present. But one of the things I want you to remember is the same way that you've experienced hurt, you've experienced traumas. A lot of times as parents, we come from hurt, we come from traumas, and we have to understand that our parents aren't perfect. They're finding their way. So one of the things that Alisha said that I had wrote down earlier in the week is to remember, moms, to be vulnerable. Have vulnerability as it pertains to the things that you've been through. It's okay. Now, you don't have to tell
every single detail if you don't want, but it's okay to, as a parent, to let your kids know that you've been through a struggle. I've been through some really traumatic things in my life, and I try to share those things with my children, because you never know what children are going through in school, what their peers are saying to them. And a lot of times kids don't feel comfortable talking to us. And one of the other things she said that I love is, having a coach or having a psychologist or having somebody, a therapist that you can talk to. Because even though I was very open, like with my children, I was like, y'all can tell me anything. I knew that they're not going to do that. They're not always going to do that. They feel better talking to their friends sometimes, and having someone else that they can talk to gives them an outlet to be able to share. So there's nothing wrong with getting that reinforcement as a parent and getting that help that you need for your kids to be able to open up. But I did let my children know, only because growing up, I was molested. I had gone through some really traumatic experiences. So I wanted them to know that if anyone ever talked to you inappropriately, touch you inappropriately, you can come to me. Even if they say they're going to hurt or harm me, I'm invincible. You can come to me. No one's going to hurt me. But please, tell me, and if they can't come to you, having someone else that they can go to, but also letting them know sometimes things don't go the way we want in life. Sometimes we have our challenges, but just know that everything is working in your favor. One of the greatest lessons, and I say this all the time, one of the greatest lessons that we can teach our children is how to love through the way that we love in our relationships. Alisha said this, and this is the second part of my quote. It's like, because kids do what we do, they don't always do what we say. So that's why sometimes you can tell them something a million times. They can hear one of their friends say it, their friend's parents say it, and they act like they heard it for the first time, because everybody has a voice that resonates with them in a way. So you have to find that voice. And sometimes it's just not us as parents. And that's okay. As long as my kids get it, that's what's most important to me. So I'm saying that to say the greatest lesson you can teach your children is how to love through the way that you love in your relationships, because kids do what we do, not what we say, but also we're their first example of woman. Whether you're a mother to a son, you're the type of person he's going to look for in a wife. If you're a woman, so your daughter is going to mimic some things about you. It just is what it is. And some things she's going to do and then be like, Mom, my mom just came out of me. I sound like my mom, because this is what they're learning love looks like. You understand? This is what they're learning a woman looks like. So we have to be that example of love. But don't forget, not just in your love relationships, which is majorly important, because I grew up in an abusive household. So a lot of the things that I saw was very tough. And the definitions of love that I had weren't healthy. So a lot of times we have to understand that we're showing them how relationships should go. And unless you want to have to pull up at their house and, try to come in between something that's going on, then you want to try to live as authentically, as beautifully as you can. It does not mean you're not going to have disagreements. Things aren't going to get in the way, but you have to be able to say, okay, let's take this argument or disagreement to the bedroom where no one can hear us. Let's talk about this later, and show them how to overcome. Because, and not just in love relationships, but relationships with your parents, relationships with your friends. You're teaching them how to be a friend, how to be a woman, how to be a wife, how to be a girlfriend, how to be, an employee, how to be a business owner. When I was younger, but when my kids were younger and they were in school, on their breaks, I've been doing interior design for almost 20 years. So I would take them to work with me so they could see what I'm doing when I'm away from home, but also show them work ethic. Okay, we have to leave at this time so we can be on time. Take your notebooks with you. I need you to take notes for me. The way that I approach or talk to my clients, they were there. So I was blessed to be an entrepreneur early, and for them to be able to see this is how you run a business. Before that, I was working third shift, nursing and taking care of Alzheimer's patients so that I could get off early in the morning and then take them, make sure they get off to school. Okay, when they get home, I can help them with their homework, nap, and go to work. While they were sleeping, I was at work. So I've always been big on trying to find balance, being vulnerable, being one of them, being open to them about the things that I have been through. But initially, as a mom, I was a big disciplinarian because that's what I saw growing up, a lot of discipline. So I had to find that fine line between being a mom and being a friend, which means not like I'm your girlfriend, because if God wanted me to just be your friend, I would have come into your life as your friend. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to teach you. I'm here to love you and support you. But they know when that stare comes, it's not a friend. So I had to find that fine line, though, so that they would be comfortable talking to me. And I had to show them that I'm human, because at first, being a disciplinarian, I tried to make everything look perfect. Okay, we're going to church, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, I'm going to talk like this, I'm going to act like that. And it was like, no, be authentically yourself, because the same way we had to go through our challenges as young girls, the same way we had to learn our lessons in life, they're going to have to. As much as we want to save them from falling, be there to catch them every time, life is going to take them on journeys that we have no control over. And I tell my kids all the time, the reason that I poured so many quotes and so many antidotes and so many things into you guys was because I'm building a toolbox, because I'm not always going to be able to be there every time you bump your head, every time you scrape your knee. And I'm going to need you to pull from this toolbox. And I've like custom made some tools for you to make sure that you know that I have something for everything I'm going to pour into you. The foundation of that for me was Jesus Christ, building a relationship with God. And initially, when I was so young, 16, I wouldn't go to church every Sunday. I made sure they went with my mom if I didn't go. And then, as I got older, I started, but I've always had a personal relationship with God. So I started making sure they knew, like, okay, this is where your source is. If mom's not there, this is where you fall to your knees. And it's so crazy because my youngest daughter would pray every single night. I didn't always know that. And one morning it was snowing and our house was up on a hill. And I said to my youngest daughter, Kayla, go through the yard because it's ice on the driveway. She went through the driveway anyway, hit her head, started losing her memory. We called the ambulance. They came, and at the time I was I was trying out for a television show. They were coming over, so I had did some different stuff to the house. And she was like, "Mom, I don't remember." I found her outside, and I don't even know how I got her up the hill, but pull her up the hill. And she came in the house and said, "Mom, I don't know why we decorated the house like this again." And I was like, "Remember, they're coming over to do an interview, or I've been interviewing for this show." And she was like, "I don't remember." And so my oldest daughter heard her just crying out to God and praying, like, "Lord God, I don't know what's happening to me. I can't remember. Please help me." And that lets me know that even though sometimes our kids will go to bat with us, they will argue with us, they do take in the things that we're giving them. You overhear your kids talking to their friends and you like, "Girl, I didn't even know you had it in you." You sound like me. But giving them those tools is so important, because when we're not there, when we're not able to have certain conversations, we're not able to fix it, because moms, we're fixers. That helps, because they're going to pull from that toolbox that you've given them, and they're going to start not only using it for themselves, but also giving that wisdom to their friends. So just know that everything that you're pouring into them, it's working. It may not seem like it at the moment, especially, I don't know what it is about the age 14. If I have any 14-year-olds on here, please have mercy on your mama. Because the age 14 is such a transitional stage. And for some reason, they're going through their transition into womanhood, and it's starting a little early. So a lot of times we bump heads. And for the 14-year-olds, I know it feels like, okay, I'm becoming a woman. I need to figure this out, figure that out. You still have that support. You don't have to grow up overnight. And if you need to talk, it's okay. If sometimes it's hard to talk to your parents because my mom works all the time, she's not able to be here. There, find a time when she's sitting and just say, "Hey, mom, I love you. I want to talk to you about some things that I'm going through," and be able to talk to a mom, a auntie, a godmother, but be able to express the things you're going through. Because I remember at 14 just feeling alone and feeling lost, and becoming 16 and feeling like, okay, I'm grown, and at 16 I was put out the house because I got pregnant. And so I was a teen mom at 16. I was a teen mom at 19. So I know what it's like when the hormones are raging and the boys like you and you just like, oh, I love this attention, especially because for me, my father wasn't present for me. He didn't claim me as a young child, even though I would go to his mom's house once or twice a year. And when I would make really good grades, my mom would take me by the shop that he worked at, his family owned. And I would go there and show him my report card. And, I would see him sometimes when I would go by there, my other siblings, his other children would be there. So it immediately made me feel like, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't he asking me to be here with my siblings? It must be something going on with me. It must be something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I need to push myself harder. Maybe I'm not a kind enough person. I always wanted to be liked, always wanted to be loved. So as a child, I didn't understand. As an adult, he had his own things, his own issues, things he was dealing with. He had a wife, he had things that he had to take care of. He had decisions he had made that weren't healthy decisions for me. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that my mom wouldn't be with him. And so he was kind of like, well, I'll show you, and I won't be there for her. But when we're not seen about, by parents, sometimes we look for that love outside of that. So I look for the love in relationships with boys, so I just want to tell you that you are loved. First and foremost, God loves you. God loves you with his whole heart, and he sees you as perfect. You know that song, Jesus Loves Me. Yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to hear. I'm terrible with that. Beloved, they are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. He loves you. He wants to be there for you. He wants to have your back. And that was my mentor, so just know that one, you are loved by God. Two, you are loved by your support system. So utilize that support system to communicate. I know sometimes it's really, really hard to do that because you feel like you're going to be judged because it may have happened in the past. But it is so good to get it off of you. So if you can't see a therapist, find someone that you love and you trust who gives you great advice that you know isn't going to judge you so that you can get it off of you. A lot of times we hold things in and it can literally make us sick. So going through a divorce, speaking back to the parents, I was holding on to a lot of anger because my marriage didn't work. We were really young when we got married. It wasn't a healthy marriage, so I filed for divorce. But it was the hardest thing that I had ever been through in my whole entire life. I mean, my heart was totally broken into a million pieces. And I was going through what we call now in my house the D word, which I don't allow the kids to say depression, even though I know depression is a real thing. And some of us have to, medicate for it and, seek therapy for it and things like that. I'd set the tone for it, though, in my house, because I remember the kids saying, Mom, why aren't you getting up? I'm depressed. And then my oldest daughter, a few weeks later, about 2 weeks in, she had wrote me a letter and was like, Mom, get dressed today, put on something pretty and go do something nice for yourself. And I was like, I got to pull myself out of this because they're watching me. And then maybe a couple of weeks after that, she was like, Mom, I'm depressed. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. It's the D word. So we call it the D word. And let me know what's going on with you. Let's work through it. Let's pray through it. And sometimes with me being a life coach, when it comes to my own kids, I have to ask them, do you want me to show up as mom? Because mom's going to come guns blazing. She's going to come to protect you. Do you want me to show up as life coach? Because I'm going to give you advice. Sometimes they don't want to hear it. Sometimes they just need an ear. So I'll say, do you want me to come? So they come as a person you can just vent to if you just need me to listen, because I'm always advising. And so sometimes I have to do that, allow them to just speak without judgment, without my opinion, rather, because I try not to judge, but just to come as a listening ear. A lot of times as parents too, we make our mistakes as we're going through life. We're doing our thing, we're working, we're taking care of the bills, we aren't taking enough time for ourselves. And sometimes we're going through things and the kids may catch some of that, like we're not perfect. So you may yell at them when it should be directed to someone else or something else, that energy. And the children may hold grudges. Parents may hold grudges against their children. One of the things I want to talk about today too is don't hold grudges. If anything, this pandemic has taught us to understand that tomorrow's not promised. We don't always have a second chance to get it right. Sometimes, as young people, we feel like we got forever. Well, I'm just going to have an attitude and I ain't speaking to her for a week. It's your mother. Or I'm not speaking to her for 2 weeks. It's your daughter. So just know, because if something, God forbid, were to happen to either one of you, whatever you were arguing about won't mean anything. It is not that important when you don't have the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, or to say, forgive me. And that's another thing that's okay for us to do. As parents, a lot of times we feel like we know everything. You can't tell us nothing. I remember my kids telling me I wasn't a good listener. I was like, wait, I do listen. And I'm interrupting them while they're saying that. And they like, see, you're not even letting us get the point out. So I had to learn how to listen. We learn from our children too. I don't know how old they are in spirit. They could be billions of years older than me. I don't know. They came through me to have this life experience. And so I'm learning from them as well. They are teaching me as we go. Just like I'm teaching them, I'm learning. And as I get older, they keep me young because they keep me up on pop culture and they keep me up on everything. But mostly they laugh at me because I'm so behind on the dances and TikToks and all that stuff. So just understand that we're learning from them as they're learning from us, and be open to learning from your children. It's okay. Children are our teachers as well. We don't know it all. Amen. Like, I would love to say that I'm right 99.5% of the time, but my kids would probably differ. Okay. They would probably say that's a lie. So just be open to listening, open to learning, because a lot of times when we're not open to listening, things could happen to us and they're not going to tell us. And then after the fact, you're like, why didn't you tell me this was going on? You don't ever really listen to me. You're so busy. Make sure that you're making time for mother-daughter dates. For me, I have 3 grown children. 2 of them have children. So not only am I a mother of 3, I'm a grandmother of 5. So taking that time out with my grandkids too, like, I'm gonna just be honest, I can't get all 5 of them at one time. My nerves would be shot. But I take time to get 1, then I'll take time to get 3, and then I'll take time to get 2. Have mother-daughter days no matter what age. I love it because we still need our moms no matter how old we get. Okay. I've been in the I'm trying to please my mom business for years. Okay. So just please take the time, talk to your moms, heal through your stuff. One of the things I love to tell parents, have the tough conversations. I know y'all don't want to hear the things that you've done that has bothered them or stifled them or something they held on to that they never let go of, but you have to. You got to be able to have those tough conversations. Reason being, you don't want later on for your children to grow up and have these hiccups from things that you could have explained to them came from a place that was unintentional. Because you're not waking up today like, I'm going to ruin my child's life or I'm going to do something that's unforgivable. So the intention wasn't there. They have to know that. But how are they going to know that if they can't have the tough conversations with you to tell you the things that you didn't do right? I know recently I had to apologize to my oldest daughter. Like, I am so sorry. When I apologized to her, the apology felt like, well, I'm sorry, and I had to let her know, I'm sorry for that. Like, you have every right to be angry, to be hurt, to be scared, or you could have been afraid. Like, I had to have the tough conversations because those things are healing. And if it means anything to you, you're going to have the tough conversations because it's better to have them now than to wait. Tomorrow isn't promised. But one thing I love to do too is ask for God's divine timing on when to talk to someone about something. Because sometimes we could bring up something in the middle of tragedy and it's like, Mom, why'd you have to talk about that now? Or the kids bring it up and you're like, why are you bringing this up now? You ask God. I pray and I'll ask God, I need to have this conversation with my baby. But you are all about divine timing. And I want to make sure it's the right time. And please give me the words to speak. Speak through me. I need you to show up in this conversation. And be okay, like I said earlier, with apologizing. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't always make you right. Sometimes we do things that aren't cool. Sometimes we do things that aren't kind. Sometimes we say things that are mean, and you need to be able to say, I was wrong and I apologize. I am sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to break your heart. I'm sorry. Because children can carry that, grown-up children, because there's so many things from our childhood that are triggers for us that come up later on in life. And you're like, why is this bothering me so? And if you trace it back, I promise you the root of that is probably a childhood trauma. So that's why it's important to get help through things. That's why it's important to seek counsel, because you want to be able to heal those traumas so there's not so many landmines that you're stepping on. Somebody can step on one and the blow up happens and they don't even know what they did. It could be a simple sentence they said to you and you lose it. And it's because it's a trigger from your childhood that has not been healed. So please, just know that we've all been through our stuff. It's okay to make mistakes. We're not perfect just because we're parents. So we're going to have our own things that we need to heal through as parents. And our children have things that they need to heal through from childhood traumas, even though they're still children. And it's okay. Age-appropriate conversations are okay. One of the things Alisha also spoke about that I carry with me is faith. She talked about fear. And I was like, okay, I was going to talk about faith. Fear is the opposite of faith. Understand that the only way to kick fear in the butt is to do the thing that you're most afraid of, because you're not going to conquer a fear by staying scared. Step out on faith. Matthew 17:20. I keep my mustard seed necklaces with me. Matthew 17:20 talks about how if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can tell a mountain to move from here to there and a mountain will move. With this tiny, when I say tiny, like you could barely see it in here. With this tiny bit of faith, You can move mountains out of your way. You can tell the mountain of illness, the mountain of discouragement, the mountain of the D word. You can tell it to get out of your way, and it has to move. God dwells within us. We have God power. And when you feel weak, pull from the reservoir that never runs dry. Don't expect your kids to fix it. Don't expect your mate to always fix it. Go to God. Go to God first. He will carry you through. He is amazing. He is present. He is the same today, yesterday, and forever. He does not change. He is not man, so he doesn't lie. His word is real. He's faithful and he's powerful. He's all knowing. So it's not even like you can hide anything from God. He knows your true intention. Even if you say it wasn't my intention to do that, but you know you intended to, God knows that. Ask for forgiveness. Keep it moving. Stop holding guilt over your head and not forgiving yourself. That's another thing. We're big women, ladies. Come on, sis. Y'all know we are big on holding something we did in the 90s, in the 80s, okay, the early 2000s over our head and won't let it go. Like I said earlier, God throws that stuff into the sea of forgetfulness, and we go fish it back out and throw the guilt right back on our back. I love when it's a motivational speaker that talks about guilt is here to serve us in one way. Tony Robbins. He talks about how guilt is only here to serve us by teaching us what not to do again. Okay? Please don't go throw it back on your back and then feel guilty about something that God don't even remember. If God doesn't remember, why in the world are you holding on to it? If he says, once you repent, once you ask me for forgiveness, then I forgive you, and he throws it into the sea of forgetfulness, and then he forgets it, why in the world would you go fish it, throw it back on yourself, and then hold yourself accountable for something that he's not even remembering? Let it go. Forgive yourself first. First and foremost, before you're looking to your kids to forgive you, before you're looking to your parents to forgive you, forgive yourself. Because let me tell you something. You haven't done anything that another woman hasn't done. Another little girl hasn't done. You haven't. Trust me, we have all been through our challenges. We've all had our stuff. Everything is not the first time. Okay? Understand that and forgive yourself for that, because you are the child of a king who is full of love and full of forgiveness, and he doesn't want to hold on to any hatred, no resentment, no anger, any of that. So you don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, and don't do it to other people. There are going to be people that are in your life for a season. They're going to come into your life for a reason, right? And whatever that reason is, whether it's for now or forever, it may be some people you have to let go of. Wish them well. Yes, they tormented me. They put me through it. They stabbed me in the back. But I pray that God changes their hearts. I pray that they are shown their ways and that they grow through it. I pray to God that they let things go and turn their lives around to be a better friend to someone else. I pray happiness. I pray abundance over them. Because let me tell you what that does. It sets you free. Forgiveness is not for the other person only. It's for you. Okay? Because once you have forgiven, so let me say this. Once you've forgiven, it sets you free. But let me just say that we are the queens of asking God for forgiveness, right? We go to the throne and we're asking King Jesus, please forgive us. But as soon as somebody does something to you, you don't want to let it go. It's not fair. You want God to forgive you and forgive you and forgive you. It doesn't mean that you got to hang out with the person or be friends with the person, but it means you have to release it. The same way you need forgiveness, you have to give forgiveness. Okay, your child got pregnant at 15 and you haven't been able to get past it. First of all, that child had to come here. It needed to come here because God is not a God of mistakes, and he's not starting with your daughter. My children have purpose. They have a reason that they needed to be here. And yes, I'm sure my parents would have, they made it known that they would have loved for me to wait, but I didn't. I was lost. I was out here looking for love, but I have three amazing individuals who have made five amazing individuals who I feel like is my second chance to get it right or even more right. So, because I tell my kids all the time, the things that I did that blessed you and it worked for you, use that. But if there's things that I did that you were like, I'm not incorporating that into my raising my kids, then please don't. We are we are generational curse breakers, not curse makers, not the continuum. We are leaving that old stuff behind. Pregnant at 16, 16, 16, we're not doing that. So this is an opportunity for us to break generational curses. And the only way we're going to do that is through forgiveness, through the hard conversations, through the honesty and being vulnerable. You want to give your kids everything, but not show them that it was a struggle for mom to buy these. So they're like, they don't know it's a struggle if you don't tell them, hey, I saved up for this, or hey, I'm not able to get this for you right now because we need shelter. We need food. I have to have clothes on your back. So these particular items, ma'am, you're not going to be able to do right now, because those are the things that's going to teach your child resilience. And that vulnerability is going to show them that it's not always roses, because believe it or not, everybody ain't about to love your babies like we love our babies. They're not going to do it. Life is hard. So don't teach them that everything is rosy. You don't ever struggle, because when they get out here in life, how are they going to know how to handle it? I have become who I am, and I'm proud of who I've become. Considering my past, I've become who I am because of my trials, because of my tribulations, because of the things that I've been through. Now, when I go through struggle, I say, oh, okay, let me go through this with my eyes wide open, because this is where the good stuff lies. This is where my strength, my power, my resilience comes from. It comes from me going through this test that made me stronger. My faith becomes stronger, because for a long time after my divorce, I held on to resentment. I was broken. Okay. I held on to anger. I was sad. Right. And it manifested itself in the body and made me sick. Not only did I have Graves' disease, but because of complications of Graves, I had tumors that were so big, they were pushing my organs out of the way. I was dying. And because I started to go to God and ask him, Lord, please help me to forgive those I haven't forgiven. Please help me to forgive myself. Right? And I remember taking my son to school, and I was listening to Ricky Smiley on the radio, and Ricky Smiley was talking about, he was doing an inspirational thing where he would play a gospel song. And I grew up in a small church in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we speak tongues across the church. Somebody would interpret the tongue, but I was never able to interpret that tongue. And I remember this morning driving him. I got back to my house. I sat in the car. I'm speaking in tongues. I'm speaking in my heavenly language. I'm praying to God. I'm crying. And I remember clearly as I'm talking to you, God said, what you have now is nothing compared to what I'm going to give you. And at the time I thought, well, God, I'm doing pretty good, But he was like, but I need you to stand on my promises. And so I was like, yeah, he said, no matter how bad things get, stand on my promises. So us in our brains, the carnal mind is so different from the spirit. The spirit knows we're going to be fine. The carnal mind is going to start like, so what's about to happen? So I'm asking God, oh God, what do you mean? No matter how bad things get, what's going to happen? And I remember being ill at the doctor. Every week I would leave and cry in my car, because the doctor would describe my death to me. And he said, because your thyroid, which is the butterfly-shaped gland in your throat, is not balanced and it's overactive, your kidneys are in trouble. So you're going to go through kidney failure. We're going to have to do emergency surgery. But because your heart rate is so high because of your thyroid, you're probably going to go into cardiac arrest and die on the table. Now, why doctors feel like they can, you know, be God in some situations, I don't know. But at first, I was really like scared and crying every week. And one day I got in the car and I clearly heard God say, are you going to believe the word of man? Because we have free will, people. Are you going to believe the word of man, or are you going to stand on my promises? And at that moment, I decided I'm going to stand on your promises. I'm going to stand on your promises. That's all I kept saying. I'm going to stand on your promises, Lord. And from that moment, I just kept saying, thank you, Father, because even if you take me, my kids are learning to be more responsible. I'm usually the mom that works, cooks, take everybody to their stuff. Super mom, thinking I'm going to get a reward at the end of the day, not delegating, trying to do it all. And I was like, now my kids are cooking, straightening up, taking care of each other. Like, I know something great's going to come from this. I was online and I remember being on Facebook saying, y'all watch what God is about to do. I was sounding so faithful before everything started getting pushed out the way. My right kidney got smaller. My left kidney had to overcompensate. It got bigger. And I just remember saying, Lord, even if you take me when I take this nap, because I was so sick, you guys, I would take a nap and not know if I was going to wake up. I remember just saying, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you for my healing. Thank you for what, because people were praying that had never prayed before. So see, a lot of times our test ain't just about us. Our test can bring people to Christ. Our test can up people's faith. You know, so I was like, Lord, thank you for all that you're doing through this situation. And I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to hold on to my faith. And I just kept saying, thank you. Thank you for my healing until I was healed. And I'm sitting here right now. And I wish you guys could just feel how much gratitude is coming from me, because I'm so grateful that he gave me another chance at life. I had surgeries 09. I got diagnosed in 09 with Graves. I had surgery 2011, 12, and 13. I mean, growth just kept coming back. And I remember just saying, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Gratitude is such a major, major thing in my life. We have a gratitude room on Clubhouse. My girl, Yana, started, my girl Taisha Stewart actually started 21 days of gratitude, and I moderated. And then Ayana, so dope, she came in on the 22nd day and was like, we don't want this thing to stop. So there's a gratitude, let the gratitude flow room if you're on Clubhouse, where we come every morning and just talk about the things that we're grateful for, because I am so grateful today to be a mom. I am so grateful today to have beautiful children, to be alive and well. That's a real thing. I remember not being able to walk at times, and my son was 9, 10, 11, trying to walk me to the restroom. So I know that faith saved me. That's why I started making these necklaces. This is a labor of love. My oldest daughter makes them. We pray over these. And it is just a reminder of how powerful our faith is. And you know, power in this necklace. It's a reminder. The power that you need already dwells within you. You're a daughter of the king. You're a queen. You're a princess. And if I could say something to my younger self, and let me also talk to the young ladies, everything's going to be all right. There's purpose in everything. It don't seem like it sometimes, because we're like, why is this happening to me? Why, God? Why not you? Because one thing about your father is he knows you to your core. He created you. He knows what you can handle. And guess what? He don't give you more than you can handle. When I thought that I could not, he said, yes, you can. And I did. I had faith in myself because he had faith in me. The fact that I am a conduit or a vessel for him makes me so grateful that he thinks that much of me, where he would use me as imperfect as I am. Like I said, a mother at 16 and a mother at 19. I said, I learned as I go. I was learning as I went. Like, I don't know it all. He used me. And my friend Julie always reminds me, like, when we were younger, you always used to say, Christina. I mean, I always used to, she today, Christina, you always used to say, if God can do it for them, he can do it for me. So that's the only way I want you to ever look at anybody else's. Let me tell you something. Social media is snapshots, okay? You don't know sometimes that the reason she getting that vacation is because she got a black eye. Okay? Stop looking at other people's lives and admiring them when you don't really know what has going on with them. You don't know what that person went through to get that vacation. You don't know what they're doing to get that vacation. You don't know what they're willing to give up. My soul is not for sale. It ain't that deep to me. When it's time for me to travel or buy this or buy that, God will show up. He always does. He always has. He will do the same for you. But young girls, young women, do not give up. Let me tell you something, because everything's going to work for your good. And no matter how many things Satan, the adversary, tries to throw in your way, God has you covered. He has you covered. And for moms, you freaking out because your baby 14 and they done ran away, or some little boy got their head messed up. Let me tell you something. I done been the mom in the car, driving in the middle of the night, letting the spirit guide me right to where they were, jacking them up, putting them in the car, and having the hard conversations. Had I known what I know now, I would have relaxed a little more, because what I know for sure is that they were God's children before they became ours. One, he got it. Two, they're covered. Three, and every time you think about being worried about, oh my God, they're going to the movies, what's going to happen? Oh my God, they're going out here to the grocery store. What about COVID? Stop worrying. They were God's first. He got them covered. You covered them. Every time worry pops up, pivot that thing. Return to sender. I acknowledge that I'm fearful, but I'm going to pray over that thing. And then really believe that God's going to answer your prayer. They're fine. They're going to be okay. Because worrying and, harping on things that are negative creates more of it. Negativity begets negativity. So I'm going to need you, when the worry comes up, because it's going to. We're parents. We worry. Trust me. I'm speaking to myself too. Encourage yourself, ma'am. I have to say, yes, Christina, they're good. They're covered. Calm down. Go back to sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night like, okay, did anybody text? Okay, we're good. I'm an empty nester. And for the empty nesters, let me just tell you this. Wake up every morning and ask yourself, what adventure do I want to have today, baby? Because I know you've gave up a lot of years, a lot of tears, a lot of cash taking care of these babies. Now it's your time. Wake up every morning. Lord God, I thank you for waking me up this morning. What adventure am I going to have today? Because now it's time for you to live for you. It don't mean you're not going to hang out with the kids. It's not like you're not going to, see them anymore. You're an empty nester, but they coming back to the nest, even if it's to visit. Here they come. But what I need for you to do is focus on you. You've done a great job. Okay? And even if you didn't do the best of jobs, build now. Build now with them. Take them as they are, where they are, for who they are, and build. Ask for forgiveness. Take their forgiveness. Because let me tell you something now. Yes, I went through a lot as a child. And my parents had been through a lot, so they could only give me what they had. But it don't mean that I wasn't out here running the street and, you know what I'm saying, not always making them proud. You know what I mean? So sometimes kids can come to you and say, Mom, I'm sorry. Be open to that. Because guess what you can't do? Get tomorrow back. The past is just that. It's past. It's gone. You don't get no do-overs. You don't get to redo yesterday. It's gone. You let yesterday worry about itself. Let tomorrow worry about itself. But let yesterday go. Do that. Just let it go. Let it go. Stop guilting yourself as to what woulda, coulda, shoulda. It happened the way that it was supposed to, because your children chose you to come through. You allowed them to come through you to have this specific journey. And even though you believe that it could have been different if I would have, no, it was what it was because it needed to be. And the journeys that they're going through, no matter what it is the journeys that they have to go through to grow their souls in a specific way. So stop hanging yourself on the cross, because Jesus did that already. He took the brink of everything already. So what you doing it for? He doesn't intend for you to do that. He wants you to forgive yourself because he's forgiven you. If you haven't asked for forgiveness, he wants you to do that. And he really just wants to love on his child. So forgive yourself, have faith, be vulnerable, have the hard conversations, love on yourself, practice self-care. And self-care don't always mean I'm about to go get my hair done. Sometimes it means I'm going to go to a therapist and just lay on that couch and drop some atomic bombs. Because when I do that, there'll be no more triggers. Well, not as many triggers, because as long as we're alive, we're growing. Okay. It's never a point where you're like, I'm perfect. It's always growing. But there's not as many triggers and landmines for people to blow up, like for you to blow up people. So just do what you need to do, whatever that means for you as far as self-care is concerned. I would pray that you guys follow me on Instagram. My name on Instagram is Christina Johnson _. Follow me on Facebook, Christina Johnson. Follow me, go to my website, ChristinaSJohnson.com. S is in Sam. ChristinaSJohnson.com. There you can sign up for coaching. I do a group coaching program called the Quench Quest sometimes. And so if you see that come around, please join in, because it's a safe space. I take less than 20 women so we can feel safe just to pour into each other, to grow together. My mustard seed necklaces are there. I sell some workout gear, and don't get it twisted. I still struggle. When Alisha said that, I struggle with weight, girl. I struggle with food. Okay. And that's where the weight comes from. So it's workout gear, because no matter how much I'm not eating what I should eat, which I try to eat as healthy as I can, but sometimes I fall off the wagon because I love sugar. I still try to work out. I still try to take care of this vessel that God has given me. And so I want you to also do that. That self-care is a lot of things you can do now to take care of yourself. So come on my site, sign up for coaching. I'm also an interior designer, so follow us on designmyinvestment.com. Inner Peace used to be my company, but Design My Investment is a new company that we started during the pandemic. Isn't that crazy? Yep. We took a chance and started it during the pandemic, me and my business partner, Falia Carter, and we're doing some beautiful work. So if you need a designer, everything you need from me is on my site. Follow me on social media, because I'm constantly dropping nuggets, because I love love. One thing I know about this life is love is the most powerful gift that God has given us. And if you give it out, you get it back. And who don't want to be loved? So I give a lot of love because I love receiving love. And I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Thank you so much, Pain and Glory, for having me. Okay, thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. And happy Mother's Day again. Happy Mother's Day to every mother, godmother, fur baby mother, every adopted mother, a godmother friend, whatever. Just thank you for the aunties who became mothers, for the grandmothers who became mothers. Thank you. Yeah, I just love you. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I hope I touched on everything. Love y'all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh,
You're
I am
welcome.
so elated. I'm sitting here, as I said earlier, just trying to hold back the tears, because, as I said earlier about Alicia, I'm trying to get us both on at the same time. As I said earlier about Alicia, you did not have any foreknowledge of what today was going to be about. I did not tell you, well, I need you to speak about this. I need you to
Sure.
say this. But you definitely like tied it all together with such a beautiful bow. And I'm so appreciative to you for you taking the time and making this the event that it is. And I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. And I'm sitting here just in complete appreciation and just such gratitude that it's hard to articulate. It is hard to articulate. So, you guys, as you heard Christina say, please be sure to go to her website. She held up her beautiful necklace that she has, her mustard seed necklace that she has there. Go
Yes.
to her website that she's holding up right now. Go to her website and be sure to check her out. And those of you, if you're like me during this pandemic, I've changed a whole lot in the house. If you don't have an eye for that or need some assistance, some guidance, she gave us the information about her site, designmyinvestment.com.
Thank
Um, Listen, if you ever just catch a glimpse of her when she's doing her Instagram live, and you get to
you.
see a glimpse of her of her background, you can already see what's happening in the mind and heart of Christina Johnson. So, Christina, again, I thank you so
Oh,
much. I
thank
was trying to
you.
bring us
Thank you.
both on camera, but yeah, so it will not let us be great. But
That's
I love you
okay.
so much. I love you
I
so
love you
much. I
too.
treasure and honor you so
Thank
much. This has been, listen, as I told you, I got the tissue beside me. It's been
you.
ridiculous. I'm just saying, this has been yet another great and dynamic Restoring the Bond Mother Daughter Love event. It has been tremendous. The theme this year was Feed Her Mind, Nourish Her Soul. And what I can truly
Right, you'll
say
get this one.
is that happened today. Like, I can truly say that these ladies did that. They fed our mind and they nourished our spirits. And so I'm overjoyed. So again, I want you guys to be sure to go to her website. Be sure to go to Alicia's website, which I have here on the screen, AliciaTMorgan.com. Be sure, as always, follow us on social media at Pain and Glory. It's Pain and Glory across all platforms. PAYNEANDGLORY across all platforms. Again, if you would like to make a donation to help us in our efforts to be a blessing to the women's shelter as well as to caregivers, you can do so at $ Pain and Glory or via PayPal. See Pain at Pain and Glory. You can do that and we'd be more than happy to receive it. Listen, I am so full. I feel like I've gone to like my favorite restaurant and sat down and ate the best meal and enjoyed like the best customers, the best wait staff, had the best table, like ate the best food, and then they brought out dessert, and it was like the best dessert that I've ever had. Like, this is what I feel like has happened today with Alisha and the beautiful Christina. I just love them both so much. And as you can see, I told you all at the beginning that I prayed and asked God to show me who was supposed to be here. It wasn't that I was, going through, I would love to have this person. No, that was not the case. I did not know who God wanted me to have. I had no idea. And so when I left it to Him, much like what Christina was saying, when we give it to Him, He guides us, He directs us, and we can just go to sleep. We can rest. We can be comfortable in knowing that He's got it. And like I said, with Christina, I had just prayed that morning, and doggone it if she wasn't saying the answer to my prayer during her Instagram live. With Alisha, it was a very similar situation, very similar. I'm like, okay, God, I'm glad that I tuned into you. So listen, for those of you who have joined us on today, thank you for tuning in. I thank you for being a part of today. I thank you that this is another year where we have made an impact. I thank you for being a part of what we're doing. Going forward, if you're new to Pain and Glory, every Monday night we have Pain in the Pews, Mental Health and Ministry, where we have a Facebook Live broadcast every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. where we bridge the gap between mental health and ministry, and we bring on different guests. And this week will be part 2 of the cost of yes. Last week we dealt with the cost of yes, where We had pastors and bishops that were on that were talking about, excuse me, the cost of saying yes to the call. And so we'll have part 2 on this week coming up. We have some great things. As I said, we're going to be having our mental health first aid training coming up very soon. So you'll hear more about that. We always want to do something that's dealing with women's health and wellness. So you'll hear more about that. So listen, thank you guys again. Listen, be blessed. And listen, for every like Christina just called off a moment ago, wherever you are, whether you're a mother or maybe you're not, maybe an auntie, a godmother. And for those who are experiencing Mother's Day first time for the first time, maybe without your mother, or maybe this is the 20th year without your mother. Listen, we wish you the happiest and most blessed Mother's Day. We want you to enjoy Mother's Day, embrace it, love it, enjoy it, be blessed. I thank you all who have tuned in, and continue to follow us, continue to be blessed, continue to listen to God, continue to hear what he has to say, continue to be lifted up and uplifted. And don't forget that we love you. We love you. We love you. God bless.
I didn't know my own strength.